This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, hello, everyone. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, and it's going to be just me today. Because here's why it's important that I just came off of my big annual event, Judith Briles Book Publishing Unplugged. And it was, number one, it was wonderful. We had authors from 10 different states, plus Mexico. And it's 3 really intense days just with me. So if that's something that you might well look at, you can get information on my website, thebookshepherd.com. But next year's dates are June 23rd to the 25th. And I did announce a brand new Unplugged event, which is going to be November 10th and 11th, which is on how to create a $1 million speech or a workshop or an event around your expertise or book. So if you're interested in that, you will find all the details on the Book Shepherd's website, thebookshepherd.com. Just click on events. Details are there. It will be very limited. Max 25 people will attend. I will tell you it's already 20% sold out, and it will be really a focus. You're going to get laser coaching from me, just me again, throughout, to really take you into a next level you haven't thought about. I spent 30 years on the platform, and I do know what I'm talking about and will be demonstrating. The second thing is, this is one of the things you're going to need, and it's called a speaker one sheet, or it could be the author one sheet, or it could be the book one sheet. And that's what our focus is today. How do you create this? How do you rock and roll so that when a potential buyer can just see you with a glimpse? Remember, what's the average? It's just shocking to me. But the average time that you've got to grab someone is not 30 seconds, not 60 seconds, not 90 seconds. Let's kind of gulp around 7 seconds when there's a visual involved. 7 seconds. And one of the very interesting activities we did during the Unplugged event recently was that we put up 8 covers and just 2 rows, 8 covers. We put up a big number 7 and led into it. You have 7 seconds to grab someone, to get their attention with your book cover. 7 seconds. It's not very much. So we put up a variety of well-known names of covers and also a few not-known names. And we put them up and we just had people vote which one grabbed you. And, you know, I instantly saw it in like 2 seconds. That was it, you know, going through, bang, I knew which one it was. But it was interesting that people, you know, just weren't sure how to evaluate, what to look for. And here's one of the things that you have to step aside when it comes to covers and one sheets. You need to step aside from you, and you have to step into the buyer, whoever the buyer is. And that could be a book buyer. It could be someone contemplating your consulting services or your speaking services or whatever, fill in the blank services. And it could be, you know, maybe they're interested in your blog. Maybe you're putting out something to entice them. Maybe it's your newsletter that you put out. But it's things that you will bring in to grab them and the attention, and how you have to graphically display it, what kind of white space you need, what kind of verbiage you need. All that is what we're after here today. So that's the main play, the critical elements of it. And it's always important. Like, people would bring me their covers. They're so excited. They have their books. I'm excited they have their books. Until I see some of the covers. Not even mentioning what's inside, what's gone on the design, anything like that. And what evolves is that one person had a beautiful picture. And it was a type of a memoir, beautiful, beautiful picture, a nice river rocks, all those kind of things. And guess what? All her graphics were in white. Well, when you reduce that and you think, what color is river rock? Well, it's light beiges, there's whites, there's not a lot of black. That when you reduce it, you couldn't see the title of the book. You couldn't see her name. You just couldn't see. So you've got to really reduce that. Remember the 7-second grab. What are you trying to show? Is it just a pretty picture of rocks? Maybe, but why do I care? So think about this. Now let's transition over to the whole idea of creating your author one sheet, your book one sheet. So in effect, this is called a sell sheet. And when you're creating a sell sheet, that you're after the whole area of the grab. It's the grab. Now, it could be for your book, as I said. It could be for you as the author. It could be for your expertise. It could be for you as a speaker. Where is it that you want to go? And that's going to be what your primary focus is. And I'm going to take you through the components of what you'll need as you start doing the gather, and who are the players that you want to be involved in the process. So here's what it's kind of like putting together a puzzle. You've got all these little components, and then they're going to be wiggled around until it gets the right eye candy appeal and also stresses what you want. And I'm going to, you can go to my website, and if you click on speaker on it, you'll see a drop down for the one sheet. I've had designers saying, oh my God, I'm just going to copy this. Fine, you can copy it, put in your own words, unless you want to put out my name. But there was a reason for each component of it as it came together. So here's what your one sheet will claim. It will claim the expertise or the storyline, if it's for the book, of what the book is about. It will claim your expertise as an author. And remember, fiction authors have research in their DNA. Don't ever forget that. It claims your expertise as a masterful storyteller. For nonfiction, your expertise is going to be related to what your book's about. And remember, you're always going to address that you're the solver of what the pain. There's a supplier of the solutions of what they have. So expertise is at the top. Now think about images. What kind of images have you because some could be casual, some could be professionally done, some may be part of your logo. But what images do you have that you can turn over to the designer? And I'm going to tell you, I don't think you should be doing this yourself. I mean, in the old days, I'm telling you, we did all this stuff ourselves. I knew that when I finally said, okay, this is one of the things I'm going to really, I'm going through a huge amount of upgrading in some of the things that I've had this past year. And I wanted to bring in a person that I knew really had the elements of brochure designing, where she had to weave in a lot of things. It wasn't a book designer. It was someone who had brochure designing. So what images? And then you're just going to save them. These are things that you're going to kind of put together in a folder as you have it before you turn it over. The next thing is, so what about a picture or two pictures of you? Now, my personal one sheet, I'm just using one side. It's done on a high gloss, heavy stock paper. So it's not something I'm running off my copier, my color copier. I actually took these out and had them printed. And the first time I had them printed, I'll tell you, I took them to a copy shop. It could have been an Office Depot, it could have been a Staples, it could have been a FedEx. I will say it was one of those three. And the color in certainly my face had a little bit more orange, and I'm not orange, than what it should have been. And that's because they don't have the ability to do the tweaking that a full-blown, like a really brochure printer would be putting it together. So, but I did because I needed 100 really quick to show. And then, that was that. And then they were long gone. And then I went and printed up 1,000 with a regular type of printer for that. All right. So what kind of picture do you have? And that, I'll come back to how we selected our picture. And I actually turned over multiple pictures. I had several pictures that we could cherry pick from. And I turned them over to the designer, and what she did is she actually morphed one of them and came back with an idea that I loved. All right, then, what about your contact information? How are they going to connect with you? And I'm going to suggest that you're going to have your phone number. And if you're using if it's your personal number, if it's your cell phone number, maybe you don't want to have that blasted out all over the place. What about just getting a Google phone number that will automatically then get directed to your cell? If you don't answer it, or your other number, if you don't answer it, it then sends like a text message to you if it's a mobile. And that actually is kind of cool. You can read through it and make a decision. Do you want to respond back? All right, so address I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to tell you to put your website on it as well as your email. Then this is the really important element, and we're going to take a break here just in a sec, but when we come back to that, we're going to get into it because this is your full-blown bragging rights, and there's going to be two components to it, and I know this is where I find a lot of authors stumble. Now, we can think book awards. Maybe you don't have any book awards yet. It could be if you're a nonfiction author and maybe you do consulting, or you've done workshops in front of people, or you've presented to people already. How many? And that you're going to say, 50. All right, so 50 is kind of a low number. So let's figure out other ways that we can expand that number. All right, and so bragging rights. And, if you need to get goosed on this, start as early as, what'd you get in 4th grade? And let's start building it up, and so we can see what we can pull from that. All right, and then we're going to apply numbers to that. And when we come back from our break, I'm going to talk about how critical these numbers are and how you're going to demonstrate them, illustrate them. This is AuthorU. It's your guide to book publishing. I'm Judith Briles, your book shepherd, and we're talking creating the absolutely off-the-charts killer author, book, or speaker one sheet.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you or another? AuthorU will show you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you'll find a supportive and brainstorming community that's connected and creative no matter where you live. AuthorU brings in national experts for its book camps and annual author extravaganza held each May. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through AuthorU's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. The Resource, its online book publishing news magazine, is content-heavy and it's free. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, AuthorU is for you. If you're a hobbyist or a casual author, it's not. Join AuthorU today through its website at AuthorU.org. Follow AuthorU on Twitter at AuthorU and on Facebook at AuthorU, where timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted daily. AuthorU, where the author goes to become seriously successful.
every picture tells a story. And it's a truism that people do judge a book by its cover. Nick Sellinger and NZ Graphics have been in the business of producing superior graphic cover design and interior layout for self-published authors, independent and traditional publishers for years. He has developed a reputation for excellent work, fast turnarounds, and best of all, affordable pricing. NZ Graphics also produces ebooks and book marketing materials such as posters, sell sheets, postcards, bookmarks, business cards, logos, and more. Books designed for his clients have won multiple book awards, including Best Book Award by U.S. Book News, multiple Evie Awards from the Colorado Independent Publishers Association, Indie Book Awards, the San Francisco Book Festival Award, and Freedom Medal Award from Valley Forge. Visit www.nzgraphics.com or call 303-985-4174 for more details about making your book the success it should be. Mention that you are an FOJ, friend of Judith's, and that you heard about NZ Graphics on your guide to book publishing.
One of the most important decisions you will ever make is your choice for printing your book. You are choosing a company which will be responsible for guiding you through the process and printing your book at a level of quality and detail that embraces your personal and creative needs. You want to choose a company that when your book finally arrives, you are delighted and ready to move on to the next level, and one that is customer focused. Choose King Printing Company and Addy Books to be that company that brings you to the next level. Go to kingprinting.com or call 978-458-2345 and ask for Tom Campbell.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right. As I left you, we were talking about numbers, bragging rights. So when you're thinking about the whole bragging rights, and I said, if you have to go back to fourth grade and figure out what your achievements are, then you're going to have, you're going to think, okay, I'm just getting started. And then bring it into adulthood and then try to transfer it into how you have an impact. Whether it's, it could be that you've effectively transformed. Think about maybe you're working for someone else right now, that you've transformed under your direction, thousands. And when I said numbers, how you display it, you don't write out thousands. You put 1, 000, and then the apostrophe S's. If it's a possessive, if it's just a stated, then of course, you don't have the apostrophe. But that thousands or 3,000s, in excess of 5,000 products, 5,000 lives changed, over 5,000 recommendations, whatever the number is, I want you to put a number that people can see with it, and usually round it up to you have that. Unless it's specific. For example, I have books sold in 16 countries, so I've had foreign rights sold in 16. So I would use the 16 number. But numbers are essential. People cue into them. And they become memorable. When they see them written out in word form, they don't have the imprint as the numerical does. So keep that in mind. All right. And then you have to always remember that as you are writing, you're not writing for you. You're writing for the buyer. So who, and I pounded this in so many shows, who is the buyer? Who is the buyer? All right, then How about some testimonials? Kudos, people who have said you've changed their life, that they took one tip and they totally transformed, they morphed, they altered, they redirected, they stopped doing whatever it is. So testimonials. And remember, you're usually, because of the space allowed on one sheet, that you're not going to have a boatload of room to work in there. And then again, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I did on mine and why I selected who I did for my testimonials. And then think about graphics. Now, you may have some ideas. You may have seen some others out there that really sung to you, or that you let your designer go to work. You would, if there are some color preferences, like I have distinct color preferences. Everyone who knows me, that I actively use purples and various shades of greens in things that I do, plus other colors, but those are going to be the dominants for who and what I am. You have yours, maybe. I'm going to encourage you to. It's part of, it's overall becomes part of the weave of your branding. So, work with your designer and see what they do, because the designer I selected, which was Annie Harmon of Harmony Design in Colorado, that I knew I had seen her work before. I had followed, there's a blog I follow that I know that she has a high influence on in the overall design and the layout of it. So I knew when I decided to do the next level, the upscale version of a one sheet versus the common old fashioned one, which by the way used to be a border. It was purple, had my picture on it. It had kudos in it. It had, and I'll tell you how that went. It had some descriptions and it had various talks and things. So that all comes into play. And then I think you just have to trust them. And then the last thing is you need to have this one sheet really a good ease of reading. So with that said, let's start now with how do we set this thing up? How do we put it all together? So you want to start, and there's not going to be actually a lot of writing from your part. It's really a lot of design, a lot of writing from your part. But you want to start out with kind of a combination statement. So in the first sentence, you want to really roll out, state your expertise, whatever your talents are. Start incorporating your bragging rights. You really want to think, I need to start and roll out with power and pop. You want to think about, have I had any shout outs? The people have reiterated coming back to you. Have you got some numbers now as you've gone through and thinking about your achievements, your influence factors, the numbers to back you up that you can reveal? Now, remember, they can be about book sales. They could be about book signings. They could be about number of speaking gigs. They could be awards. They could be media coverage. They could be books printed. They could be rights sold. Anything. For example, I've been on over 1,000, featured on over 1,000 radio and TV shows. Over 1,000. I can mention Oprah. I could mention the Wall Street Journal. I could mention People magazine. I could mention CNN and Fox and NBC and, just lots and lots. For my author one sheet, I made the decision to not really get into that. I decided that this was going to be a quasi-combo because my one sheet was really focusing on my role as the book publishing expert. Now, it was interesting at my recent Unplugged event, one person says, you need 2 more words in your tagline. Now, my tagline is, and we did a whole section on how to create taglines, but my tagline is creating successful authors with practical, profitable publishing advice and guidance. We had someone come and says, you need to really say creating successful authors successful authors and indie publishers with practical, profitable publishing advice and guidance. Maybe when I go back, I can, insert that. But I've always just gone after creating successful authors with practical, profitable publish advice and guidance. So here is my opening paragraph. And by the way, there is only one on an 8x11 one sheet. Only one paragraph. It is 6 lines. That is it. 6 lines. So this is how it reads. It says, Judith Briles, a.k.a. the Book Shepherd, has shepherded more than 1,000 authors and created 500 bestsellers and award-winning books. She's knowledgeable and entertaining and has personally authored 35 books that have been translated to 16 languages, sold a combined 1 million copies, and generated in excess of $5 million in revenues from combined book sales and speaking fees. Period. All right, so there's 2 sentences here. The first one ends after the award-winning books, and then the next sentence is she's knowledgeable, blah, 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 and then $5 million in revenues from combined book sales and speaking fees, period. Third sentence, within the paragraph, she's an advocate for authors. Judith knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides, period. She is the book shepherd. That's it. That's my entire paragraph. Again, what am I selling? I'm selling my expertise as a book publishing expert. All right, that's at the top. Big. My name is huge at the top. My tagline is underneath my name. And then there I have a logo. And that one of my logos, which is like a little tree, little leaves reading a book, and then it says book publishing expert. The paragraphs underneath it, I have some of the symbols of all the different awards I've won. Now, the upper half, that's in the upper half. The whole upper half then is you're going to have my picture. I'm selling me on it. And what the graphic artist came up with, which I thought was way cool, because there was a picture that I gave her that had me standing by in my office. And I had my arm up. And I have a row of kind of a light limey green book files. And my arm was up, and behind them is a whole row after row after row of my book covers. She deleted all the book covers. She deleted the files. But it's me with my arm up. Underneath my arm is resting now on a whole bunch of dummy spines of books. And her idea was that if I've written 35 books, why don't we put my arm resting on all my book spines? I liked what she had done, but I didn't like showing all my books. What I wanted to show, which was far more important, because remember, I'm supporting book publishing expert, not me as the author, per se, of a gazillion books. What we did is I then sent an email out to for 4 different designers that I routinely work with clients, and I said, would you send me the spines? And I gave them the titles. So I then accumulated a boatload of spines of a variety of different books, fiction, nonfiction, children's, memoirs, etc. And they became now what my arm was resting on. And then I took my publishing books, AuthorU, Creating and Building Your Author and Book Platforms, How to Avoid 101 Book Publishing Blunders, Bloopers, and Boo-Boos, the Crowdfunding Guide, Snappy, Sassy, Salty, and Show Me About Book Publishing. And we put those where the book spines were all running in a vertical. We put those on the horizontal at the end, kind of resting in front of me. So it really is a very grabbing visual. Right, that's just the upper half, but it dominates. Now, when we come back, we're going to take our next break. I'm going to show you and explain why we did the bottom half the way we did. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing. I'm Judith Briles, your book shepherd, and we're talking about the essentials of creating a killer author or book or expertise fun sheet.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Since 1987, Color House Graphics has set the standard for quality book production. Whether you decide to print a small quantity of books or need a large print run, depend on Color House to help you. You'll receive professional help and advice the moment you reach one of our representatives. If you mention hearing about us on your guide to book publishing with Judith Briles, we will provide you a discount on the first order you place. To speak with a project manager, call us toll-free at 800-454-1916 or visit us at www.colorhousegraphics.com.
Want to publish like a pro today? Well, then take a look at Ingram Spark, the only publishing platform that offers print and ebook services through a single source. Upload, edit, and manage titles all in one place. Take more control of printing costs with print on demand, and reach even more readers through one of the world's most extensive distribution networks. Built by independent publishers for independent publishers, Ingram Spark has everything you need to maximize your book's potential: color printing, ebook distribution, print on demand, global reach, and more. Start publishing with Ingram Spark today and see just how far your titles will go tomorrow. That's ingramspark.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so we've got the upper half. I've described that to you. Now let's drop into the lower section. And this is where the kudos, the testimonials will go. This will where there may be some samples of, if you're a speaker, maybe some speaking topics. If you're promoting yourself just for a variety of your titles, or maybe just one title, that would go there. How to contact you would go on this section. You could have how to connect with you. For example, what about social media? Certainly have things to drive them there. And then, I added one more line because we often include that. So on my lower section, I just have 3 testimonials. And actually the initial ones that I had, and I had several. I had several to choose from. Actually lots, but I had that I gave to the designer, and that I was, and I played around with them, and I kept moving, and we changed and inserted till I saw the right visual that I was looking for, because this was number one, to actually work with clients. In my book shepherding capacity, I wanted to have a strong testimonial. And I have 2 of those. And then do you want to have just, Joe Blow author to be there, or do you want someone who might have some name recognition? And I am going to tell you, if you can get someone with some name recognition, a little bit name recognition, it does help. But if you don't have that, it's okay. It's okay. What you have to do is, do they evoke emotion? Do they evoke success? Do they evoke a turnaround? Do they evoke that you really did what you said you were going to do? And then I had one from Meeting Planner that was really connected with the publishing industry, and I had several to pick from, and I just kind of like the one that came from a group that I did in Michigan. All right. So the 3 that I have, one, as I kept changing around, and I landed on Dom Testa. Dom is a well-known, I'm from Denver, well-known morning media personality here, and he's number 1 in the morning market. And he has a YA series, as well as he's done some adult, like bar topics, like trivia things, party things. But he really is known for what's known as the Galahad series. And Dom wrote, Judith protects authors from making senseless mistakes and watches over their journey from beginning to end. All right, so, for me, I like that because that, says that, I don't want you to screw up. I don't want you to kiss off a lot of money. I want you to, be protected in what you do and don't make senseless and costly mistakes. And I'm going to stay with you until we get done. So to me, that was a good quote to use. The other person was, you may recognize your name depending upon how old you are, but it's Marilyn Vanderburg, who was Miss America. And she went through a riveting revelation many years ago when she revealed all during this time how she was being assaulted and molested by her father. And this came out many, many, many years ago. And she eventually wrote a book called Miss America by Day. Marilyn wrote, I will be grateful always to Judith Briles for mentoring me. She has had such a positive impact on my life. I try every single day to pass that gift on. And Marilyn will tell you she's the only mentor she's ever had. And this is a well-accomplished woman. And then the third one, and each one of these are in different colors. Dom's is in a purple, Marilyn's was white with purple copy on it, or color copy. And then Tyler Tishliar, who is the president of the Upper Peninsula Publishers and Authors Association, he was the meeting planner that I selected to feature. And his is kind of in a limey green with white font. Judith Briles was not only a phenomenal keynote speaker for our organization, but she wowed our members with 3 presentations that left them inspired and motivated to learn more about the publishing industry. Best of all, she spent individual time with many of our members talking to them about their books. Judith is a first-class act all around. Now, when you're in the speaking industry and you're doing that reach out, you want to let a meeting planner know that, number one, you bring impact to the presentation. 2, you're not a swooper. A swooper is someone who comes in, they can do a great job or maybe not a great job, but they just come in, they do the gig, and they split. And I've always felt, and I'm going to encourage all of you, that if you have any speaking engagement, not only are you going to be one of the first to arrive, and you should be there before people arrive, because I think it's a good idea to greet them, but you stay until basically they're gone and close up, and you're available, you're accessible, you're helpful to them. So I've always tried to be that. That's been always my game plan, that when I go to an event, I was recently in Oklahoma at the Oklahoma Writers Conference. I was there all 3 days. I'm headed to St. Louis in July, and if you're in St. Louis, I'll be speaking on the 22nd. Would love to see you for the St. Louis Publishers Association. And that, and I'm going to be doing, by the way, Jedi book marketing. But we're going to be there. And that I want you to really think about how you can really take what you do to that level and you make that difference, no matter if you're in fiction or nonfiction. It's irrelevant to me. All right, next we have, then to the right on my 8x11 page, I've got 3 categories: speaking, sample, speaking topics, and I name avoid book publishing blunders, boopers, and boo-boos, boring speeches suck, how to create a talk that sells thousands of copies and can make over $1 million, and, how to market books. Then under Connect, I've got my newspaper, my daily newspaper, the Book Shepherd Daily. I've got the podcast, which is what you're listening to. I've got Facebook groups, the book publishing. I've got my Twitter account at my Book Shepherd, and certainly on LinkedIn, the AuthorU group. So people can join those, and I encourage them to look those up. And then lastly, second to last, I should say, but lastly on that column, section or that kind of quarter, not quite quarter quadrant, maybe fifth, that's vertical, the contact. So I have my address, snail mail, I've got my phone number, I've got my email, and I've got my website. And at the very tippy bottom of this, it just says snappy period, sassy period, sometimes salty period, and always fun. That is my speaker one sheet for book publishing expert. So now what you want to do is think about yours, what you want to do with where you want to go. And I'm going to come back to who's your buyer? Who are you reaching out to? So what I had to do is I walked you through mine is I had to demonstrate that I got what publishing was. I mean, I do get what publishing is. And that I had walked and been in multiple speaking engagements, multiple talks. That as I gathered my content, I just sent them in rough form and I did them in categories just so I could get it to my designer so she could start noodling and she could start going back and forth with it and putting it together. And that it does make a difference. You do want a little panache to it. You do want a little pizzazz to it. What you can do is you can take it to, now you can go to the back side, okay? You can go to the back side of it, and you can bring it together. And if you have multiple talks, now when I was my clear, pure speaking one sheet, I had, and I'm going to go back into the field, when I was on the road for over 30 years, that I spoke to corporate groups, I spoke to women's groups, I spoke to healthcare groups, and it was divided into dental, and it was divided primarily into nursing. And believe it or not, I had a one sheet for each one of those. Now, it was just slightly altered. The kudos would come from people within their industry or meeting planners within their industry. So if it was dental, it would only be from dental associations or what they call study groups, that people who were the directors of them or the meeting planner for them, their contact information. And I gave their name and their phone numbers that they could call and get direct references. If it was in whatever the group is, I could easily tweak one or two words in a title that would be more honed to that group and that descriptions. The benefits that they took away were always going to be the same, but it would be the descriptors would have a couple of adjectives that were more skewed to who and what they were. And that would be the only change on the front page. My credentials were my credentials. But it was the kudos that were the primarily changes in that. Then on the backside, because I listed out all my talks, and one of the things, if you're going to use both sides, that if you'll find that you're going to do the same talk, but it's just going to have a different title, and you can go ahead and use that because people will be attracted and gyrate towards a title, and then they're looking for their takeaways on it. And then I would have a few lines describing what the talk was, and then I would have anywhere from 3 to 5 bullets, what participants would take away, whether it was a learning curve, resolution, whatever the talk was about. And I would designate whether or not it was a keynote only, a workshop only, or could be used for both. And if appropriate, the time ranges that they would go within. So those are the things then, creating your one sheet. And back in the old days, by the way, the only color we used to use was maybe a border in that. None of the fancy-dancy graphic things that you can do so easily and really inexpensively today. So, take a peek at mine at thebookshepherd.com, click on the speaking tab, and you can see what it looks full blown. But you just really, those elements that I shared with you, from you claiming your expertise, having images, your contact information, social media, you might want to refer them to, kudos, bragging rights, testimonials, always written for the buyer, who the buyer is. And lastly, don't forget, you need to do it with some numbers that shows that you are not green. Even if you're green, we can help you get over that. But how you know your stuff, and that's what's critical. All right, so we're going to be right back with our final element, and I'm going to give you a few other things to add into, because this is branding. This is going to be your branding, and it's going to be a pivotal point for where you go in your whole journey to author success. I'm Judith Briles. It's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and a guide to partner with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand, and is a financial success, a bestseller. It's your choice. You choose. You need the book shepherd. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You don't need problems, you want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and the chaos. At times, she's had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, or by a publishing service provider, or sometimes even the author themselves. Judith Briles is the book shepherd if you want to create a book with no regrets. Give her a call today, 303-885-2207. That's 303-885-2207, or email her at judith@briles.com. By the way, Briles is spelled B-R-I-L-E-S. Follow Judith on Twitter at My Book Shepherd and on Facebook at The Book Shepherd.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Now, there's a couple of other things that I want you to do to make sure that you add on to your this makeover that we're talking about you doing. And that is, I want you to come back and, first of all, I want you to look at your email. And I want you to look at your signature on it. So what do you have that maybe goes out default? So when you're writing an email, do you have something that is a standard default on it? Now, and I will tell you, I have maybe 10 different signatures I can use. I can use it for consulting. I can use it for just strictly publishing expertise. I can use it for speaking. And I have other groups that I'm involved in. I mean, I even have directions to my offices as one of my signatures. So it depends. But let's just say it's going to be your standard default. And it could just be for the author, all right? And what you want to do is I want you to do your name, do it big, oversized, bold, pick a color that you love. Underneath it, have you thought about creating some kind of a tagline? Now, remember how I told you mine was creating successful authors with practical, profitable publishing advice and guidance? What's yours? And it does take a while to come together and put together, a tagline of some sorts. And so as you do that, you want to think about, okay, so where can I go in creating mine that might snap it up, a little bit? How can I snap it up and do it and play around with it? So you can come across, there are services you can, clearly go into, for example, Google, and you can go in and just find slogan creators. There's something called Sloganizer, slogan generator. But you can go in and play around, but remember you need your keywords that tie into who you are, what your book expertise is, that kind of thing. That's really essential to bring into play as you do this, all right? So come in with that and bring that about and put that underneath your name, all right? And then I'm going to want you to repeat your email, even though I know it's going to show who it's from when you send it. But, people print stuff out, and sometimes all that top information doesn't come out. Or they save it. When they save it, all that, the emails that go back and forth, you have to do some special stuff to automatically bring that over. And I'm going to tell you, just automatically have it. Make it easy peasy for people when they're going down and searching, because sometimes if you're communicating back and forth, your email may not show. It may just show as your name. So I'm just going to encourage you to do that. And then what I want you to do is you underneath it, you have your email, put your phone number that you want people to come back to you for. You can add your website. I would encourage you to have an image of some sort. Now, for me, because I've written so many books, if I'm going to be doing a signature that's relating to my publishing arm, that I have a picture of me, and this has been done in a block, by the way, because one of the things, if you've got too many images, you could be automatically looked at as spam. So I have it in a little block. And then I took a Snagit, or you can do any of the other entities that allow you to take a snapshot and make a picture. But I took me and I pieced it together. Then I put an image of my latest books. And if it's publishing, I'm going to have the covers of my publishing-related books. And then I may have a couple of the other ones. And I have that in a block. And I found that I could string, I use Outlook, and I found that I could string 9 or 10 pictures together, take a snapshot of it, and I use Snagit, took a snapshot of it, and then I blocked it all together, and then it just shows as one image instead of 10 images. Much better, much better. Now, if you have one book, or if you've got a book coming out and you've firmed up on your title, then you could also put right under your name in smaller print, much smaller print. Maybe you put the title in the italics, but you can pay author of the forthcoming book, comma, and put your title up. Start promoting. Start putting it out. Start letting people know that, you've got a new baby coming. If you have the cover, you could include that on that. Now, I have on mine a bunch of other stuff. I've got a Wikipedia contact. I've got, some of the other things. But just as a email signature, this is really important to get in play. And mine will, I have, again, my name. I've got my tagline. I've got the Book Shepherd. I've got a vertical, not a forward slash, but just a vertical divider, author and publishing expert. And then I have underneath it, and I've got an author, speaker, consultant, radio show host. And then there's my email. I've got my Skype. I've got my phone number, my website. It's and Wikipedia, and then my images that I shared with you about. So think about that and put that together. And if you're trying to, we've mentioned this before in earlier shows, but let me do a reminder. When you're trying to find out about headlines, when you're playing with tags, do they have an emotional pull? Does it pull it in? That one of the sites I like to go to is the Advanced Marketing Institute. And their website is aminstitute.com. If you click on the headline analyzer, you can put in up to 20 words, and it'll give you the emotional marketing value. And by the way, you can use this for your blogs, you can use this for your articles, you can even tweak it with your titles, and it'll score you. And my goal is to get you over 40, get you over 40 and bring it in. So take advantage of these kind of things. I mean, this is all involved in marketing. And I know, it's an overwhelm. Oh my gosh, it is such a huge overwhelm in what we do, all of us do. And the thing is, if you don't think about it, if you don't start into it now, you're going to be doing catch up all the time. And if you can move into it, it just makes a huge difference. Now, I mentioned some of the taglines, and I found my exact pages to refer you to, which is what I wanted to do. What's in your tagline? So if there's Shopify, Shopify, Shopify has a free slogan marketer. And if you just go to, slogan maker, you can go to Shopify and just go into their tools and slogan maker. You'll find it there. There's the slogan generator. Just go to slogangenerator.co. It's .co. And then there's the Sloganizer, which would be the sloganizer.net, has one that you can look at. And then lastly, the other one I play around with sometimes is called the Free Slogan Generator. And the website of that, it comes off of the PC Man website. And P is in Paul, C is in Charlie. The PC Man website. So that will come together. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up, and probably this is going to be a whole nother show, is that you want to start thinking about creating an opt-in piece for your website. And I'm going to encourage all of you, because we're talking about branding here. We're talking about creating one sheet for whether it's you or your book, your expertise. It's a branding issue. So the slogans and title generators and taglines, it's all part of branding. So, and those are going to go, and by the way, your tagline should go underneath your name on your website. You are the primary brand. Yes, do you buy your title of your book? Sure, but direct it toward your website. That's where it goes. And underneath, and make your name big in that banner section. And underneath it, get in, and it could be, someone said when I wrote an article on taglines just recently, but you're using nonfiction examples. What could we fiction people do? And it could be Maybe you write about a certain genre. Maybe you write about a certain timeline. And it could be creator of, your creator of stories, and then fill in the blank. It could be an old Britannica. It could be, for sci-fi. Use your imagination. You're a writer here. But if you use those tools, as I said, the slogan generator and some of the Shopify and some of the others, it will help you start tweaking. You just start putting in your keywords and playing, knowing that you're going to reject 95% of everything. It's okay. It's part of the model. And who knows, what you might get out of this sometimes is an idea for a blog. So the last thing I'm going to encourage you before we exit today's show is to, when you're doing this branding in, also carry your branding over and offer something free to people who go to your website. And you're going to do this in the form of what we call an opt-in piece. And we will come back and do a whole show on it. But an opt-in piece gives them something that they want. In return, they will give you their name and their email, and they're going to be added to your list, and then you can start building fans. Know this, and we'll come back again and do another show on how to find super fans, is that if you have 4,000 people, let me tell you, 4,000 people who turn into raving fans because of your expertise, because of your storytelling, because of your writing, because of your authoring, because of your identifying pain and giving solutions to it, because of creating enchanting and delightful or maybe spooky stories. But people are looking for, you get 4,000 of these people who become your advocates and move out. You could make a good $100,000 a year. How does that sound? All right, so we're going to do a wrap up here. Create a one sheet around you and your book. Get it up on your website. Put it in a PDF format so they can download it and take it and use it as bragging rights. Have it printed up, show up at whatever event you're at. This is the Book Shepherd, Judith Briles, and it's AuthorU, your guide to book publishing, and we'll be back with you next week. Happy writing, happy publishing. Enjoy the summer.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each week, a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take you, the author, to the next level. You'll learn tips and secrets on how to create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve book publishing success by making one very simple change in your book's journey. How to avoid the publishing predators. How to create an author and book platform that rocks. Learn how to make a living with your words and your books. Learn how to publish a book that has no regrets, and so much more. For more information, check out AuthorU.org, where authors who want to be seriously successful go. And Judith's website, thebookshepherd.com. Then join us again here next week for more. It's Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Brought to you by AuthorU and the Book Shepherd. Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific,